O'Reilly!
You need parts? O'Reilly Auto Parts has parts. Need them fast? We've got fast. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Product availability. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee and co-host of the program, Bruce Miller, editor of the Sioux City Journal and a longtime entertainment reporter, and that is a grand opening, brand new theme music. What do you think of that?
Rate a record, I give it a 60 because it has a good beat and you can dance to it. And if you know that reference, you're older than I am. Hey, it has movement. It sounds like a monster coming through the town.
Right?
Go back and listen.
It does. I also thought it had a little bit of a vibe, like a Succession vibe, like that opening theme song from Succession, kind of, so yeah, we're getting like, this is the big drama of our, next 20 minutes, 30 minutes of chatting.
Well, are you ready for this? A new season? Are you all up for something different?
Bring me a new fall season of anything. Sure.
Okay. Well, so no, this week is like the week of mystery. People have been wondering, what is this show called Grotesquerie? It's been out there. They've been showing ads. This woman's writhing around on the thing. There's a hot priest involved. I mean, nobody knows what it is and nobody is talking, right? So I get interviews with people from Grotesquerie, and no, they're not talking. They're still not telling you what it's all about. And they're definitely not telling you what Travis Kelce is doing in this. Now, that's the big get. Travis Kelce is in this, but is he like a murderer? Is he a good guy? Is he a priest? What is he? And they won't say. Now, what happened was Ryan Murphy, who created the series and has produced a lot of stuff, American Horror Story, Glee, Pose, you name it, he's done it, had just an evening visit with Travis Kelce and said, what do you want to do? Have you thought about acting? And they kind of came to a conclusion that if Ryan had something for him, he'd probably be willing to do it. And so he wrote a part for him in Grotesquerie. Now, it wasn't written from the beginning with him in it, but he's in it somehow. So that says probably a character that is either flashback character or there's some reason to stick him in, but not necessarily the driving force. And he said he came so prepared. He knew everybody's lines. He was very willing to take direction, and he would work with him again. That's as much as I can tell you about Travis Kelce. I can tell you more about Travis Kelce's mom, who's in 2 Hallmark movies coming up. One that happens to have a Kansas City Chiefs theme. So that shows you how these worlds collide and change and differ. But Ryan did say that we tailored this to Travis.
Tailored?
Yeah. Does that give you anything more to go on? That's as much as I can say.
Okay. It'd be kind of funny if his role is limited and all he's doing is like he's about to get murdered, but he's like jogging while listening to Taylor Swift music. Now, that would be hilarious.
You could be a writer in Hollywood. That'd be perfect. The story is about a series of crimes in a small town. Niecy Nash plays the detective who is married to Courtney B. Vance, and they have a daughter played by Raven Goodwin, who there are some family issues there. And what I was able to get out of Courtney B. Vance, who is very loyal to Ryan because he won an Emmy for being in his O.J. Simpson miniseries, but is that they hadn't written anything for him either. And he said, we'll develop it as we go along. And so at some point, he ends up in bed as a patient of Leslie Manville. And he could or could not be in a coma. And I said, well, then next year at the Emmys, you'll be competing with Carol Burnett, right? Because isn't it best performance by a person in a coma? But he said, the trust is key to all of this. So we have that element. Leslie Manville plays this nurse who is somehow involved with him. And then we've got to get to the hot priest, because Nicholas Chavez, who is in the Monsters, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, which is on Netflix now, is getting a lot of attention from that. I mean, huge. And the Menendez brothers have complained about this, and he is kind of unable to talk too much about it, but he does talk to us about playing this kind of a role. And, I asked him, is he a hot priest? And he did not want to put it in so many words, but his co-star, Micaela Dimond, who plays the nun who's a journalist, she said, oh, yeah, oh, definitely, he's the hot priest. He's the hot priest. And he talks about the difference of that. So I'm piecing it together like I'm doing a detective story, and I have a feeling it's going to be like a lot of those American horror stories that Brian has done over the years, where it's like kind of familiar, where you look at a theme or a concept that you've seen before, but then he does his spin on it. And there's always some sexuality involved in the whole thing. Yeah. Do you want to hear some interviews?
I do, but you don't have Travis Kelce, right? You did not get to talk to Travis Kelce.
And then in my back pocket, I have Travis Kelce. No, I don't. Let's do Micaela Dimond and Nicholas Chavez. And she's looking, when you hear say, I was looking at your Newsies poster. She's looking in my office. I have a Newsies poster, and she's a big Broadway star. She was in Parade with Ben Platt, and she was also one of the Chers in the Cher show. So she's real adept with Broadway. But here you'll get a kind of a sense of what they are, who they are, and what this whole series means to them. Micaela, what, a nun who's a journalist? How many are there out there? Is this something that you've researched and
It's just me, baby. It's just me. First of all, like, obsessed with your Newsies poster. Second, I think it's so rare. I think this woman is like really weird and ambitious and finds bizarre pleasure in the gruesome, and thinks that despite that, the truth of killing will actually bring more people to the church. Because when you are in the depths of darkness and evil, you end up finding faith. I think she's interested in getting more people to have hope in the way that she does.
Where do you find an entry to something like that? That just seems so bizarre that you go, what do I play in this thing?
We were just talking about this, but I think the Ryan Murphy world is an outside-in world for me as an actor. You put on the nun outfit, you're saying the lines of these incredible writers, and I think that it falls into place. I think you play the stakes of the scene of what's going on in this really weird world you find yourself in, and react to it. That for me is like I think there's trust in the project and in what you're doing. I think that's a lot of what TV is for me.
And Nicholas, you've been in that Ryan world. Was it a surprise the first time, and now is it easier, or how does that relate?
I wouldn't say it gets easier. It's a different challenge every time. What was so great about Grotesquerie is that, at least in Father Charlie's instance, is that he's truly a character who I could bring my own creativity and inventiveness to. Lyle Menendez is, of course, a real person, and then Father Charlie was in many ways open to interpretation. And I got to collaborate a little bit more about who Father Charlie is and what that means, and the different pockets of play we could get into.
They say he's a hot priest. That's how we're with this. Or is that not part of it? At least from what we've seen, that's what it seems like he's going to be.
It's part of it. Do you want to be humble?
You can't. I'm not going to say he's a hot priest.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. You let him be humble. He's a totally hot priest, and it absolutely has to do with the story.
I would say that Father Charlie's a really multifaceted character, and
it's disgusting. It's disgusting.
But yeah, I mean, I think that he is aware of his own sexuality.
Sorry.
And I think that he weaponizes it throughout the series, which is interesting.
What does this say about the state of the church today?
That's such a good question.
What does it say about the state of the church today? I don't know that I'm in a position to say.
Micaela is.
I think I grapple with, I mean, I'm Jewish. So I kind of come from this place of believing in free will. We don't believe in original sin. And so when you have the choice to be good or evil, right, it's still a difficult life. I think having that perspective of my own background was actually helpful to look at this with like, this is a different thing, that this is different from what I was brought up in. But I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier, that like, what happens to us when we hit bottom, when a pandemic happens, when somebody dies? Do we become more spiritual? Do we have to believe in something? And I think like I've grappled with that in my own life. Like I went from being conservative in a temple to not believing in God to now needing some higher power to exist to like move through the hard parts of life. And so I think everybody in the show has a different opinion on that.
All right, Bruce, thanks for that interview. Now you do have one more, right? With Raven Goodwin and Courtney B. Vance, correct?
Now they play father-daughter. They were in early on. They were, like, yeah, let's do this. We're good. But what does that mean for them? How did they suddenly create this chemistry? And the daughter is a point of conflict for the couple. So let's see what happens with that. But here are Raven and Courtney. How did you two bond as a family in this? Did you work in advance and say, oh, this is how we're...
I don't like him at all. No, I'm kidding.
She's a very wonderful person.
No, I immediately loved Courtney.
It's my baby.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I was definitely immediately like picking his brain about his beautiful children and raising kids and family and all of that stuff. I wanted to get into that because he just...
Well,
you exude just excellence.
So much of this is just you got to jump in. With the work we do, we have to immediately be family.
Yeah, immediately.
And so that's why they say, and it's true, directing is 75, 80% casting. And Ryan, came to me, and the character wasn't fully formed, but he said, Courtney, please. And I, trust me. And I said, Brian, I trust you completely. So, I didn't know Raven.
Yeah.
I know Nisi, but, I know that he knows what he's doing in terms of putting people together, cast together. And so once we were a family, we are a family. We were a family immediately. And it was just about getting those scripts.
Is trust a real important thing? Certainly you worked with Ryan before and you go, okay, I don't think I'm going to be in a bad position with this.
It's completely everything. Trust is everything.
That. Yeah.
How much do you dare talk about this? Because, it's shrouded in secrecy. And is that hard when you're like even out talking to friends? You go, oh, I can't say anything about this or what?
Nobody knows. Nobody cares. They care now because they're feeding the beast. We're out there. They're out there putting out these little trailers and teasers.
Right.
But initially,
it's left to interpretation, which I love. But I think we're trying to figure it out. What's the show about?
Yeah. What's it called?
And there's this whole kind of thing about evil, and that we might want evil around. Is that true? Is that something that you see? That without evil, we don't have parameters.
Like evil makes, gives us a little razzle dazzle.
That we want evil, that we need evil.
We need it.
We need evil. We need evil. Evil.
Maybe.
I don't. Well, that's what the show is. Well, the show is going to be coming out very shortly. Yeah. And then you all will be talking all about it, about evil and how much we need it. But when we shot it, we're trying to figure out, our family dynamics and what's going on and what are we doing next.
Yeah.
So it's a very technical thing for us.
What was it like being in bed all the time? It looks like you're in bed a lot.
It was wonderful.
Lazy.
Was it good?
Lazy.
I want that so badly, but I don't.
I recommend it for everyone. No, I don't. No one wants to be in a coma. Okay, no one wants to be.
Yeah,
don't be in a coma.
That way.
Yeah,
when you say it that way.
No, don't be in a coma.
Okay.
He wants to compete with Carol Burnett for Best Coma Patient Emmy Award.
She's got it for me. Hands down, Carol. You can have it.
Did you everybody talks now about Travis Kelce and his part in this. Did the two of you get to work with him at all or not?
Yes, we did. He's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Was he a natural at acting?
Definitely.
He was. I mean, I couldn't go on the football field and do what he did for us. So, I mean, I was in awe.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Always prepared. I mean,
very prepared.
Goodness.
Very prepared.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and some actors, I need to get it together. They need to get it together.
The idea that this could be a series, that there would be another season, is that something you're interested in, that you would do another season if your characters were still around?
Please be.
Absolutely. Please be around. Don't kill me off.
Okay. No, yes, we would love it. We would love to do another series, right? Another season.
Another season, please.
Well, then
that means you have to watch.
All right, Bruce, thanks again for that interview. Now, Courtney Vance is married to another star of Ryan Murphy programming in Angela Bassett, who is on 911.
Who won an Emmy just recently for doing the narration for Queens on National Geographic, and she got an honorary Oscar for her body of work. So you see, it's all kind of tied in. And if you're loyal to Ryan, you're getting work. Ryan, I think all the things you do are wonderful, and I think Streamed and Screened would be a great signature show for you to do. Don't kill off podcasters, right?
That's right. Wow. All right. Well, so recently I busted out the bucket, the big old popcorn bucket, and I got back to the movies.
Yeah, don't bring that. I don't want you to show that to other people.
So I got the bucket. We went to see. Now this is kind of funny. We're trying to talk like kids. Let's go watch. We'll go see Beetlejuice, right? You know, it's a fun movie for the family, but we got to watch Beetlejuice first. Not only did they have no interest in watching the original Beetlejuice, but they had no interest in going to Beetlejuice. So I did go, and it was just a date with the wife. Basically, we had a couple hours off. I will say this, like two interesting things we learned. Number one, with the popcorn bucket that we get refilled when we leave the theater, so we bring home some with us, you can actually buy a lid for about $2 extra, and then it closes over the plastic bucket. We did, yeah, because it does keep the popcorn fresh once you bring it home. So that was a nice find. But the other thing that kind of irritated us was the just the insane number of coming attractions. The movie, it was a 2:45 movie. That the attraction started promptly at 2:45. The film didn't start until about 10 after 3. We had 25 minutes of coming attractions.
The romantic getaway you deserve awaits on Amelia Island, Florida. Imagine you and your sweetheart horseback riding on pristine quartz sand beaches, or drifting toward the sunset in a tandem kayak. As evening falls, you're sitting at a sidewalk cafe in the island's charming downtown. And dinner under the stars puts you over the moon. When one-of-a-kind memories are tailor-made for two, it must be an island thing. Visit AmeliaIsland.com to learn more.
For years, you asked yourself, how do I save more money? But now it's, how do I preserve my money? Someone's asking the right questions. And at Sandy Spring Trust, we'll answer them one-on-one. From asset management to legacy and estate planning, you can feel confident in what's to come. What's your next financial destination? Visit sandyspringbank.com/wealth. Wealth and insurance products are not FDIC insured, not guaranteed, and may lose value. Wealth products offered by Sandy Spring Trust, a division of Sandy Spring Bank.
That's very common. That's usually when I look at my phone. Even though they have these messages that say, please turn off your phones. No, I'm not until the movie starts. I will look at my phone all during those ads because they're too many. And you'll see them at least 6 months in advance for what they amount to. Okay, so the popcorn was good. We got an A on the popcorn, right?
Mm-hmm, sure.
How about the movie?
C+. It was okay. You know, it was fun to bring the characters back. I thought Michael Keaton did a really nice job. I thought everyone, for the most part, did a nice job. Catherine O'Hara, I kept on waiting for her to, like, turn more into her Schitt's Creek character. I have a hard time separating her now from that. Like, I was waiting for, you know, like, oh my, who brought the baby? You know, that kind of thing. But it's a different type of role for her that I forgot about. It's been so long since I saw the original Beetlejuice, but it was okay. I mean, I think it was fun to bring the characters back. I thought the story was kind of I thought it was a little bit predictable at times too, kind of the direction it turned near the end. I kind of saw that coming with the boyfriend and all. You had some interesting cameos with Danny DeVito. You had an interesting cameo, I guess, with Jeffrey Jones, who wasn't in the movie. He was originally in the first.
Right. It wasn't that weird how they and there were then some hits against Disney where you could see that they were Tim Burton was getting back at them for some whatever. And you go, I don't know the whole story here. Maybe I need to have a little more. It is what it is. I was excited to see it, but I wasn't all that thrilled after I had seen it.
And, I think you referenced this too in your review. It kind of sets up the opportunity for a Beetlejuice, which would be the natural here to kind of conclude it in some weird trilogy way. But I would be totally fine with them ending it right now. I mean, it's like, we waited all these years. It was okay, not a great film, and I'm good. But I'm glad I saw it.
I leaned into Transformers 1 and 7 Transformers films and then a TV series when you had to be a kid when Transformers came out, right?
Oh yeah, I watched the cartoons all the time as a kid.
Did you like them?
The cartoons, yes. I refused to see the movies, the Michael Bay movies. I remember seeing, I was interested in maybe seeing the first one. Didn't get to the theater. I think I saw a few minutes of it on TV, when it ultimately came on HBO or Showtime or one of them. I probably watched 5 minutes and I'm like, I'm done. I cannot watch this. This is terrible.
What I couldn't get, and this is like a really outsider view of all this, why were people interested in turning this into a movie? Because all it was a toy that you could flip and it would become another thing. Why does it need this kind of intergalactic story to kind of keep it going? Well, in Transformers 1, which is all animated, by the way, I mean, the kind of animation that you actually see in the other movies, but I digress. They give you the origin story that Optimus Prime and Megatron were friends at one time, and they were lowly miners working in whatever the mining field is in wherever they're living. And then they decide that they want to become racers. And okay, let's be racers, but they realize they don't have the ability to turn into a race car because they're missing something. They're missing this chip that apparently evil John Hamm has swiped from them. And that's their goal, is to get this chip so they can become Transformers. And, okay, I get it, but did I need a whole movie to tell me that?
I'm confused too. So it takes place doesn't it take millions of years in the past? Is that kind of right? So they transform into objects that have not yet been invented, correct? Is that where I'm going here?
Well, I mean, it could be millions of years in the past, in the future. Whatever it turns out to, but there are no people in these worlds. So who cares, right? Who is the one who is who is their IT person that is helping them out during this? It's like Cars. And I know you like Cars, but I cannot get this world where people don't exist. I know they're harder to draw, and I know that they complicate matters. But what we're saying is the world is going to be turned over to the computers, and they're going to just rule everything. We won't be a factor in the whole process, and they'll make movies about themselves. I'll tell you, it's a good nap because it's less than 2 hours. The seats are comfy, and if the kids are excited to go, and I didn't see that kids were that excited to see it, to be honest with you. You catch enough of the story before you doze off at some point, and then come back and get to see the final kind of setup for Transformers 2, which I know is probably already done. But it's one of those things where, I'm not so sold on it. I was glad to find out what actually started all of this, because I had no idea, even watching all of the Michael Bay films, where this came from. The voices aren't as good as the ones that are in his films because they all sound like they're doing movie previews. In a world far away. It's like that. But in this one, it's normal voices, so whatever. Chris Hemsworth doesn't do much more than he does in everything else. but Brian Tyree Henry does transform when he becomes Megatron, and it is a different voice. John Hamm sounds like every politician on TV. Well, there's your update on that. And this week we get the Francis Ford Coppola film.
This is Megalopolis. Yeah.
With Adam Driver, which I heard is a real train wreck. We'll have to see to make sure that it is. But it's long. It's well over 2 hours long.
What is this movie even about? Because I've seen previews here and there, but it's just, I know it's science fiction, but is there
The Godfather of science fiction. I think they're waiting for somebody to write that. Maybe we can get that in a quote box. Streamed and screened. The Godfather of science fiction. I don't know that it is, but that's what they're looking for, I'm sure.
Okay.
But he spent a lot of money of his own on this, and it could be a real disaster.
Not a good way to go out if you've got to like deplete your funds for a movie that nobody watches.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but we'll see how that shakes down, because that's the biggie this week.
Well, I would say I'm excited to go see Megalopolis, but that's not the case. I've not heard good things. And
I had fun with the Wizards of Beyond or whatever, Beyond Waverly Place. Lots to tell you about that, but that's coming up in October, so I don't want to spill that just yet. And yeah, so we've got some ones that are coming. All the new shows are starting now. We're in that hot season, so television is getting the front burner, because we won't get the back burner till probably late October, beginning November for movies.
Okay.
And that's we're getting Wicked and all those kinds of involvements. But this week, this is your week to go into Grotesquerie and see if it is really even too much for you.
Yeah, we'll have to go check that out. No, I'm on the lookout for something new. I just finally finished up The Bear last night, so we're kind of time to move into something else. But
weren't you disappointed in The Bear? Yeah, where you didn't get resolution?
Well, of course not, because we don't ever get resolution with that show until we get through probably the end of season 5 at that point, right? I am at a conclusion here after, not only after seeing like the Emmy Awards from a couple weeks ago, but it should not be a comedy at all. I did not really laugh at this season. It is not a comedy. It's a drama, and it's a really good drama, but it's not a comedy. There was a few moments where I kind of like had one of those like kind of laughs, right? One of those, but it's not a...
Yeah, but that happens in dramas too.
Right. It's not a laugh out loud kind of like, haha, where's my canned laughter to back that up? It's just not a comedy. So that has to it has to move to a different category.
Succession, which our theme song kind of sounds like, was actually funnier than the last season of The Bear.
Yes, absolutely. Like Succession, and that is a drama. I always thought Succession was really funny. It was a good comedic drama. It had its moments of levity, I guess. It's not a real comedy, but moments of levity to kind of bring you in and lighten the mood, and with its characters and all that. So yeah, it's just, The Bear, as great as that show is, it's just miscategorized basically. But
or maybe we create a new category and it's dramedy. Best dramedy.
There you go. Best dramedy. They probably will, and then it'll get funnier or something, and somebody will complain it shouldn't be in the in the dramedy category anymore, right? So there you go. We'll end it on that note. But yeah, more shows on the way, more movies on the way, and thanks again for listening. We'll be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.